Hello everyone. Now we will start the first chapter of book 3 FMP, which is option, futures and the other derivatives. That is, this is the introductory chapter of for all these three topics. Before this particular topic, in book there are three more topics: banks, insurance, and one more is hedge funds. Okay, so these three chapters we are going to cover with the theory sections when we will start the theory classes. Right now we are going to cover this particular chapter. This chapter is going to lay down the foundation for all the upcoming chapters in this particular subject and in the VRM as well. Okay, so you have to give a lot of attention to this particular section. Uh, in test form, like in LMS, you are going to see two tests for this particular section. One is the basic test, and we will keep 2 or 4 questions max in the advanced test. Okay, not more than that, because the questions can't be formed. The advanced level question can't be formed for this particular topic on this point. Okay, because these concepts are going to get linked with the coming concepts. For example, okay, leave the example. Okay, we are going to in the discussion we will see what are the topics. This particular chapter starts with these some basic terms, common terminologies. The first term is the derivatives. For the sake of brevity, I am going to use the short words for all the discussions. Okay, in all the classes. Okay, so it saves my time of writing. It saves your time of seeing me writing these things. What is the definition of derivative? What is a derivative? Derivative is the security which derives its value from the underlying. So, derivative is the security which derives its value from the underlying. Now, first, security. We all know what is the security. Security is, say, it is an agreement or like that. Okay. Then, which derives its value from the underlying. Derives its value from the underlying. For example, there is one underlying. Underlying, what is the underlying? Underlying can be an asset or it can be event. Now, the security which derives its value from asset or an event. What is the definition or what are the type of asset which we know in general? Shares, commodities, say gold, real estate, say house, and so on. Then we have events. Example of events: weather, uh, cricket match. Okay, so you will buy the security, and depending on these events or the asset, its price will change. Okay, and anyway you are going to understand this derivative in detail, and GAP is not going to ask you the definition of the derivative, so you don't need to remember the definition. The meaning is very important here. Okay, now next is the market maker. This market maker definition or the market maker term is in general used in all type of markets. It is not limited to the derivative market. Market maker. Now, market maker is that entity who has the potential to change the price. So, if this entity offloads their portfolio into the market, whole market's movement will change. Okay, so these type of entities are the market maker. So these type of entities have huge potential. They are very they have their potential of buying the stocks and selling the stocks is very high, and in general they are ready to buy and sell at the given price in the market, right? So these are the market makers. For in general, we as a investor, we are not the market maker. We can't trade in a way that we are changing whole market situation, right? So in general there are the big institutions who are the market makers. Then the next definition is the spot contract. The contract which is executed on time is spot contract. For example, I am buying stock from you right now, it is spot contract, or any type of security. It is spot contract, nothing special in this. From this spot contract, the new definition comes, which is the forward contract. Now, what is forward contract? So, there are contracts which are executed in future, contracts which are executed in future but made today. Agreement is made today, and we are going to execute at T1. T0 is today, T1 is any time in future. This is the spot and the forwards. So in similar fashion, then there is a definition of the futures and other definitions. Okay, you can read it out. I'm not going to tell you the definitions of or the meaning of future contract, call option, put option, which are given in this particular case. We are going to cover these all the definitions with proper meaning as a concept. If you see the name of this particular chapter, you will see introduction of options, futures and other derivatives. Now see here. In complete FRM curriculum, specifically in the FRM part 1, what we are going to see in the options? We are going to see the options. First category of the option is the plain vanilla option. Plain vanilla option. Then exotic option. Okay. So there is a chapter by name exotic option. There is no chapter by name plain vanilla option, because plain vanilla option means general options. Okay. So when someone is referring to options, meaning he is referring to plain vanilla option. In these options, there are two type of options in general. Call, put. Okay. This discussion, these terms in detail, we are going to study in at least in 4 to 5 chapters. Okay, there are the complete chapters which are relating to these terms, right? Then we have futures. Before futures, there is one more term which is forwards. Okay, so we are going to learn what is forwards, and then we are going to learn what is futures. So there are the 3 or 4 chapters which are based on these two terms. So pricing of the futures, then we have mechanics of the futures market, and this particular chapter. And then we have the other derivatives. The example, the other derivatives which we are going to study in FRM Part 1 curriculum are first is the swaps, caps, floors, swaptions, right? Then we are going to see MBS, okay, CDO, CDS, the basic definition and meaning of all these definitions. This is how your curriculum for FRM Part 1, FMP and VRM subject is designed. Okay. And in this chapter, we are going to see these definitions. Okay. These definitions, meaning of these concepts, and in detail discussion we are going to have here. And the particular area on which are based on these concepts, for example, mechanics of the option, which is a separate area on the options. We have separate chapter on that, and that's why we are going to cover this particular portion, that is a mechanics of option portion, in that particular chapter. Here we are going to mainly focus on the basic understanding of these concepts. So let's start with the first definition or the first concept, which is forwards. I have this pen. I want to sell it today and you are ready to buy it today. That is a T0. At say at the price of 10,000. Okay, so this is spot contract. Now if we are making agreement today, and the agreement is that I am going to sell this pen to you at the end of the T1, at the end of the particular period, the point is T1, this is forward contract. For the sake of brevity, we are going to use the short terminologies for these concepts, these long words, right? So FWD is your forward. Uh, this is the basic meaning of the forward contract. Now, forward contract is the contract, meaning it will exist today when we are talking about the forward, okay, which covers the underlying. This contract covers the underlying. Underlying is this pen, which has the price, or you can call it a rate, and the quantity. In this case, one pen. And there is a specific date of delivery. If even if you say that there is there is a possibility that there is a specific period, okay, and not the specific date of delivery. So for general use, we are writing the specific date of delivery for the understanding purpose. And the other aspect, what are the other aspects? That is, you are going to come to me to buy this pen, or I am going to come to you to buy to sell this pen. Okay, so these are the general terms. So we understood what is the forward contract. Forward contract, or the forwards in general, is the contract which has the underlying with the price and the quantity, and the specific date of delivery is given, and the other aspects are covered. And the forward contract is the agreement to sell or buy the commodity or the underlying in future. Now, in this contract, there are two parties involved. One is the buyer, and second one is the seller. Okay, buyer. Buyer is said to be as the long. The position of the buyer is long. Position of the seller is short. Okay, so if you are the buyer, in our case you are the buyer of, in this particular contract of I am selling this pen to you, you are long on this pen and I am short on this pen. So long forward is your position, short forward is my position. Okay, now see here, this point you need to remember. You are long on forward, that is, we have an agreement to you have an agreement with me that you are going to buy this pen at the end of the say 1 year. For general use, we are for the understanding purpose we are taking 1 year in this case. Now in case, say for example, at the end of the 1 year, right now the price of the pen is 10,000. Our agreement to buy and sell this pen is also at the 10,000 rupees, and at the end of the 1 year the price of the pen is say 15,000 rupees. In actual market at that time, at the T1, the price of the pen is 15,000. Now tell me, if the price increases, that is, this is the increase, this is the decrease, the actual underlying price, if the price increases, will you be happy as a buyer or sad as a buyer? Think properly and tell yourself, obviously, in this case. So will you be happy or sad? Here you need to remember one thing, our agreement to buy or sell is at 10,000. In case we imagine a scenario that you don't have any agreement with me that you are going to buy this particular pen at 10,000 rupees, then you need to buy the same pen at 15,000 rupees, meaning you are incurring 5,000 extra if you don't have any forward contract. Okay, meaning here, if you are long on forwards, you will be happy if the underlying price is increased, because you will be able to buy it at lower price. On the other hand, if the price decreases, say for example in actual market at that time, at the end of the T1, we are talking about the T1, the actual price is say 5,000. Okay, but we have agreement here. Okay, because of this agreement you need to buy this pen at 10,000 from me, but in actual market the pen is available at the 5,000 rupees, right? So obviously you will be sad. Now this thing you need to remember, that the long forward, the person who is the buyer of the forward contract or person who is having the position long forward in the forward contract, he is happy if the price increases, underlying price is increasing, or he is sad if the underlying price decreases. Now what will happen to the short? There is a general rule in the finance that one's profit is someone's loss. Okay, someone's profit is someone's loss. Now tell me that if this long is happy in this case, who should be unhappy? The short, and the vice versa. Meaning, if the price increases, short will be sad. If the price decreases, short will be happy. Now let's discuss the context here. I am the short here, and our agreement is you are going to buy this pen from me at 10,000, meaning I am going to receive 10,000 for this particular pen. Now in actual market at the end of the T1, price increased. This is the price increased and now price is 15,000. But the problem is we have the agreement and I have only one pen to sell to you. So that's why I'll be unhappy, because I am losing 5,000 because of this forward contract. So I'll be sad in if the price increases. In the vice versa, in the opposite situation, if the price decreases in the actual market at the end of the 1 year, I will feel happy because the product whose actual cost is 5,000, I am able to sell it at 10,000 because of the forward agreement. So the short will be happy in this case. Okay, so this is the meaning of just a second. Okay, this is the meaning of the forward contract. Okay, forward in general. Now okay, one more thing in the context of long or short is, if you own asset, if you have this asset, particular asset, then also it is said as you are long on particular asset. Okay, we are talking about the spot. As of now you must have this asset. Okay, here if you can see, as a seller I'm short on forward, I'm not short on asset. Okay, I'm short on forward. Here if you own the asset, you are long on this particular asset, any asset, right? So the fundamental rule is that long will always be happy on the price increase, short will always be happy on the price decrease. This is the fundamental rule you have to remember. This is going to create a lot of ease for you in exam specifically. Okay, now next concept is the futures. Now see here, focusing. What is the futures? Future is the forward contract with the only difference is it is traded through exchange. Okay, forward contract. Futures is the forward contract traded through exchange. Because this is traded through exchange, there is a requirement of standardization. Okay, you need to remember this. This is not like futures are standardized, that's why we are selling it through exchange. There is a requirement of exchange. The forwards should be there is a requirement that forward should be traded through exchange. If you want to trade them through exchange, first there is a change in the name so that you can identify it in a separate you can identify it separately. Okay, so the name changes, that is a futures, and this futures needs a standardization. I'll tell you reason for this standardization. And there is one more thing, that is price is decided by demand and supply. Okay, so this is a very fundamental rule of any market. In any market, price is always decided by the demand and supply. If the supply is short and demand is very high, price will increase irrespective of whatever your calculation tells you. Okay, so this discussion is not covered in the FRM particularly because we don't have economics here. And see, one more thing, in general, I can tell you one thing, that FRM is all about the derivatives and all. Okay, derivatives are not priced like the actual underlying. Underlyings are priced in very different manner. Derivatives are priced in very different manner. There is a mathematical model built for the valuation of the pricing of the derivatives. There is no mathematical model in general which is built for the asset. It depends on the scenario. Whatever are the scenario, based on that the derivative the underlying actual underlyings are decided. The price of the actual underlyings are decided. Now here, logic of standardization, understanding, I will give the understanding of logic of standardization, why there is requirement of standardization, which is not discussed in the book. Okay, so don't try to read it from the book. There is nothing like this in book. Just see from here, not very important for the exam. Logic of standardization. Now imagine a scenario, there is one buyer and there is one seller. First buyer, first contract, second contract, first, second. Okay, so this is the contract for buying, and this market is non-standardized. They are trading in a market which is non-standardized. Okay, so buyer B wants to buy 500 kgs of corn on 15th of say June. Okay, and seller wants to sell 450 kgs of corn on exactly same date, 15th of June. Market is not standardized. This is exchange. Imagine the virtual exchange where there is no standardization. Okay, there is no such exchange where there is no standardization. All the exchanges requires the standardized security. But we are just imagining this scenario so that you can understand it in better. Same, that is in 15th. This is second contract for 500 kgs of corn and the date is exactly same, 15th of June. And here seller is willing to sell 500 kgs of corn but at 20th of June. These both the contracts won't get executed because of the mismatch. The first mismatch is this, that is 500 kgs and the 450 kg. Okay, see here, buyer wants to buy 500 kg, seller wants to sell 450 kg. So there is a mismatch in here. And then second is the 500 kg buy of corn at the 15th of June, but the seller wants to sell it at 20th of June. Now in exchange, there is a one particular problem that you can't talk directly to the buyer. Okay, so because you can't directly talk to the buyer, you can't convince him to add or reduce the 50 kg here in this case, or change the plus minus 5 days in this case, because you don't have any direct communication which you had in the forwards case. Now how standardization solves the problem? Imagine now we will see the standardized version. Okay, what happens when the market is standardized? So there is a compulsion in the market that you must sell 100 kg lot. One lot consists of 100 kg, and then whatever quantity you want to sell. Meaning, if I want to sell 500 kgs, I have to enter 100 kg, that is one lot multiplied by 5. So this is 500 kgs of corn on the 15th of June. This is the buyer's position, this is the seller's position. Now here the seller is willing to sell 100 kg but only 4 lots. Okay, and rest is the same, that is the corn on the 15th of June. Now here, because of the standardization, see what is happening. This contract will get matched in a way that is 4 contracts of the seller will get executed against the 4 contract of the buyer, and 1 contract of 100 kg will be pending here. Okay, this is the this problem is solved because of this standardization. Okay, in previous example there was a problem, in here there is a problem, you can't execute the contract. Now the next is the again same example, that is 100 kg multiplied by 5 and exactly same the corn and all, and then again the contract is the same. Okay, here we are going to see the dates. Now there is a compulsion in the futures market that you must sell, or the contract should have expiry of June end. Okay, here the problem was one wanted to sell, the seller wanted to sell it on 20th June, buyer wanted to buy it on 15th of June. Now here, because of the futures require the standardization, both need to enter, both this buyer and the seller need to enter, are going to enter June end contract, and this contract will get executed. Simple. Okay, so this is the requirement of standardization, and this is all about your futures contract. Then okay, so now we will move into the options.